Hi, everyone. This is God Talk for Thursday, April 23rd, and we're going to get started with our introductions and our answer to the icebreaker, which Leo's going to give us. So, name and pronouns and the answer.
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Jared, and my pronouns are any and all of them. And the icebreaker this week is, what's one thing you want to get better at? Um, for me, one thing that I want to get better at, hmm. So, I mean, it's remembering to write everything down. Uh, I'm really good. I have a really good memory when it comes to like information that people like say or something. But I don't always remember to like log the hordes of information down on a sheet of paper so I can look at it later or something. But I'm really good at remembering exactly what I need to remember. But recording it so I'm not stressing myself out. I need to get better at that.
Hello, everybody. My name is Leo. Pronouns he, him. Something that I think I need to get better at. I was just thinking about it and I forgot.
Maybe it's that.
Remembering? Totally. Yeah.
We can come back to you if you think of it. I'm Carol, she, her, and Marco might be here by the end of our call. I'm not sure. He's on the way. But anyway, I'm kind of the opposite of Jared. I have so many things that I've written down. I'm really having trouble keeping it all cataloged. But what I'd really like to be better at is speaking, not like either public speaking or just really clear communication, especially in charged situations. So that's what I would like to. That's my highest wish for what I wish I could be better at. Okay, Krager.
Kreger, he, they. I would like to improve my Spanish, even though I practice it every day on Duolingo. That's pretty much the extent of it. And Paul has found me a class that whenever I retire, I can go to daytime classes and during my working hours, and I can do complete immersion. So, if God lets me live that long, I will be fluent in Spanish before I die.
I love how you bring it up when you any chance you get. That's great. Okay, Lynn.
Then she, her. I would like to be better at being patient. They say that patience is a virtue, and what I have learned in this journey that I've been through since September the 3rd, that I am not a very patient person. Now, I always thought of myself as being very patient, but my mentor, when I was like 21, 22 years old, scolded me and told me that I was not very patient. And I thought, sure, after all this time, I actually learned some patience, but I'd like to be better at being patient because I learned it.
Okay, Craig.
Hey, everybody. Craig, usually he, him, but any pronouns that you want to use for me will do just fine. I think I need to be better at, and I've tried. So Adrian, who's still, I think, trying to join, got me a sewing machine for Christmas because I've been wanting to learn how to sew, and I have not cracked it open at all. I am afraid of it, and I've tried going to different like stores around the area to see if they have any classes, and none of them do. And so that's what I would like to get better at that. And so I've tried when I've been able to seek out places where I thought maybe there would be classes, and I've come up empty. So might need to just like post online or something and be like, does anybody know where I can take a class to
in
to actually
Austin.
crack this in Austin.
I just saw on the news a couple of weeks ago during the lunchtime show that this woman had opened up a place where they could, come, not just sewing, but any kind of, knitting, needlepoint, whatever,
And
Wow. Yeah, I remember seeing classes everywhere. But I wonder if that's something that's gotten phased out after COVID or something.
it's still here. There's a organization, for instance, called Stitching Together where they teach stitching classes, but what they end up and like all the sewing, all the knitting, all the classes. But what they end up doing is they stitch protest material, right? In the process of doing it, they do it for free, right? So you'll get your, free Palestine, your pro-Trump, your anti-Trump, and your all the things, right? While you are learning a new skills, which is super cool. It's something I refer clients to as well.
Nice.
I love that. I love that. So yeah.
The ones that made the butterflies.
The one that made the butterflies for protesting the school redistricting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's very talented.
yeah.
Well, when you get the sewing machine going, Craig, I would like to have a top like Jared's, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I love
Jared,
color.
I'm gonna steal it and then make a pattern out of it.
So you got a lot of work to do.
Wow. All right. Well, that thing about that's a nice segue that talk about just bringing the community together. Today we're talking about Earth Day, and I was thinking about a book that when I was in a different church, it was called that we had a book club from a book called Saving Us by Catherine Hayhoe. And it's a really excellent book about climate change and just kind of the comparisons about what you can do about it. One of the things that she said that she really liked to focus on, she said, you need to find shared values to connect our unique identities into collective action. So I thought that was really good. And I think she had some really good examples in the book about crossing bridges of disagreement and getting people kind of on the same page, even though they had very diverse opinions about politics or whatever. Did anybody do anything special for Earth Day?
I just worked my normal 10-hour shift.
Okay.
On my job, they gave everybody a cute little succulent. It was like a baby succulent this small. You had to go downstairs and pick your succulent for Earth Day.
Oh, I love that.
We had a gardening activity for all of the participants within our rehab program. The inpatient and the PESHL, the transitional program for the survivors of trafficking that I run. We just had an environmental cleaning where we cleaned our outside and our inside space.
That's lovely. How many of y'all garden?
I used to, but not
Oh, I garden. I can go out and take some pictures here, and I can post them on Facebook. But my sunflowers, I started them from seed, and they haven't bloomed yet, but they're huge, and the leaves are like this big.
They're huge.
Mhm.
I was like, oh my god, we got a forest of them.
I've been wanting to plant some in my backyard in between me and my neighbor, especially since I don't have curtains, and there wasn't I didn't have a neighbor back there for a long time, but now I do. So anyway, but I'm afraid that the prairie dogs will eat the seeds before they start growing. But if I could get some sunflowers to grow, that would be a nice natural way to discourage the prairie dogs, because they don't like tall things that block their vision.
Our squirrels love to like go hog wild in our gardening beds, and so if there's any space where we're like trying to like start new seed, they will just get in there and they'll just like rummage around and like roll around and they'll dig in there, and so like little mini dogs, and it's like, no, we're trying to get that seed to grow. Stop burrowing in our in our garden beds.
Well, I'd like to make some raised garden, like do some raised gardens once I can figure out how to place it where I can get water to it easily. I think that would be nice, and I'd like to do it kind of in the shape of a labyrinth, so kind of have a multi-purpose space
Cool.
that is wheelchair accessible. Of course. So one of the things, I guess thing that I kind of surprised myself that I got, I don't know, maybe a 50% success rate is just some of the things that I tried gardening from kitchen trash. Like green onions is the one that worked the best, but I'm just about to order some more so I can restart those little pots because they're kind of fading. And potatoes they look so great in the planter on the porch. There's this big green bushy leaves, and then you dig them up right before the first freeze, and you got like maybe a handful of little marble or almond sized potatoes. But anyway, but at least it was fun trying and had some pretty greenery for a little while. So anyway, one of the things I remember from that book I was talking about, Saving Us, is that I was surprised by what things made the most impact. And what?
Oh yeah, I was just saying war.
Yeah. When she wrote the book, I don't think war was not at the top of the headlines like has been seems like forever. But yeah, war is a huge waste of everything, waste of lives, waste of everything. Thank you for bringing that up.
It's the first place to go. Like, it's the first casualty in any and all wars, and like every way. Like, even historically speaking, before we had bombs, right? Like back whenever we were doing the Trail of Tears for the indigenous community and stuff. And during Manifest Destiny and all the civil wars and stuff, we would lay waste to the environment to harm one another. Right, we would pollute streams purposely, right? Would destroy wildlife to make space for new infrastructure to build, to build battlements and stuff. It's war, man. War, it destroys environments for no reason.
Yeah.
Now it's data centers. How much green space can we mow over because people need their AI and all these data centers?
Oh, I hadn't thought about AI taking up that kind of space.
Yeah.
We are short on water. We're in a severe drought in central Texas, and they're trying to bring, I think 3 or 4 more of these centers into the area, and the neighbors and the neighborhoods and people are just getting, really upset now because we've had some rain recently, but we need much, much more in order to get out of, I think, exceptional drought. And putting new data centers in is not going to help. So yeah, it's a huge concern, and that's
the climate change. I'm sure. I think that's just one example. The drought, and we see fires in a lot of places. There's a fire not too far from here that started last night or yesterday sometime, and it's not under control. And of course, we've had huge, massive fires around here. Australia, it wasn't that long ago that Australia had just devastating fires, and California. That's been going on a while, but just locally, I mean, it's so easy to notice. I don't understand how people can continue to deny that climate change exists. We here the lack of rainfall or snowfall, it affects the economy very directly with losing skiers and things like that. But also then, I mean, it affects our ability to irrigate and things. We have a wonderful system called the acequia system, where if you're on a piece of land where the acequia goes through, you're responsible for cleaning up. And I was highly chastised for not getting that done this year in time. But so my neighbor had to do it for me so that she could get water herself without it being blocked by the saplings and things that grow up into the ditch. But it's really cool how you can how they can distribute the water. But the other thing that I've noticed is so much more wind. I mean, I would say in terms of the days that we have like significant wind, like it's blowing over my heavy metal furniture on my porch. And I mean, I grew up in Lubbock, the Dust Bowl area, where wind blew, 9 days out of 10 at least, maybe more like 99 out of 100. But now it's here. I would say it used to blow really hard, maybe a few days a year, and now I'd say it's more than half the time. So it's really obvious to see changes just locally, even if you don't look into the data. One of the things that I think most of us here can kind of pat ourselves on the back. One of the things that takes a lot of energy that you don't think about is how many kids you have. So that was like top of her list, and it's not like, it's not like you're going to go back once you find that out. And it's not like climate change is going to be your primary decision maker of whether you're going to have kids or not. But still, it's interesting that that was one of the statistics. And in our country, I think cars are the next biggest energy drain. So
where did holiday decorations fall on this? Anywhere? Because think of all the landfills and stuff with wrapping paper for Christmas, and every Easter bunny foam and baskets and all that stuff. Who do we know?
I like my solar Christmas lights.
I know someone from Uprising, and she'd be like, I don't celebrate holidays. It just causes too much disturbance in the environment. And I'm like, you go, girl.
Go, girl. Yes.
Well, you can celebrate holidays, just reuse
last year's
that you use throughout the year, because that idea, my sister's very good about that. She
works for the environmental organization.
Mm-hmm. She works for Tejas now, but she used to work for the National Forest, and she's very good at like Christmas time. Everything's like recycled. The bags, she recycles bottles, everything, and it's like, oh, I never thought that you could like actually give a gift with like a recycle bottle or whatever. But yeah, she gets very creative.
Yeah. And it's not too hard. You can she's often reusing the wrapping paper. She's reusing the the ribbons and stuff. She's reusing all the things, right? And it doesn't require it requires a surprising lack of work actually. It's a lot harder to actually go out and buy something new than to just hold on to what you got.
She's the one that gave me the idea to go to there's a website called Chip Drop.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of buying, it's called Chip Drop, chipdrop.com. So instead of buying mulch, the landscapers, you know how they carry these big grinders in the back and they grind all the wood and the leaves. So you can actually just put in an order to receive like mulch basically from Chip Drop, and they'll bring you like, I don't know, a ton. Like,
yeah, like a
lot.
literal ton.
Like you better share with your neighbor.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And literally, that's how that's what I put in my garden. And like now my garden was all clay. I mean, my soil was all clay. But now after like what 3 years, that soil's really fertile. Like seriously, like I just threw down my sunflower seeds. I just threw them down and they're growing like crazy.
They're like my height.
Wow. I wonder how prairie dogs would.
Do you have any cucumbers or veggies growing, Leo?
No veggies yet, because I want to give it like an extra 1 more year and then I'll start growing veggies.
We used to have a beautiful garden at our home in Blanton when we lived in Houston, and what kept the squirrels away, Craig, was the black Labrador dog. And when he passed away, the garden the next year was a disaster. It's just almost impossible. So you got to have a big dog out there that just run after the squirrels.
Or a cat.
Yeah, our cat does that for us.
Well, most urban areas are pretty good about making it easy to recycle. A lot of places have curbside recycling. I noticed in like in the Dallas area, and that was the last place I had any experience with like apartment life. But I noticed that that most of the apartments did not have an option like a bin where you could put recycling things. Here, we used to have a private company that you had to pay for extra to come get your recycling, and then they went out of business. And now there's just one place across town that takes like 10% of what I'm used to. I mean, they'll only take like corrugated cardboard if it doesn't have a shiny surface, and water and juice bottles and aluminum cans, and that's about it. And it's really frustrating to me. But I have seen like an online service that's recycling things that you don't usually think about, like bags, like plastic bags and things like that you can, that they just send you mailers and you just send it back to them. So I don't know if that'll catch on, but I applaud their resourcefulness in coming up with that. So and recycling, I think it seems to me like kind of the bare minimum. I mean, reusing is even better, but most of us use so much plastic and things in it, just even just trying to get pure water and things like that. So it feels painful not to recycle. But there's been a big push that I hear. I talked to somebody. I sat next to someone on an airplane who was responsible for trying to push big companies to reuse things, like to instead of having to buy new bottles of things, like you could go to these centers, again, urban areas, but still where you could refill your shampoo and body soap and things like that, instead of tossing the jars all the time. And I saw something like that at a grocery store. So anyway, looks okay. So was Lynn, were you first on raising your hand? Okay.
Yeah, so you were bringing up something that I was thinking about, because I was wondering every time I've had so many prescriptions here lately, and you get a plastic, bottle full of pills or whatever. And I always wonder, why doesn't Walgreens recycle those bottles? Why can't, if you can recycle the medicine in them, they ask you to bring that medicine that's outdated and recycle it. Why wouldn't they recycle the plastic?
Well, that's one of
containers?
that's one of the things that company I was talking about that will recycle, small things and things that aren't. That's one of the things that they mentioned was pill bottles. I thought that, but what we do with our pill bottles is that's one of Marco's projects, his chores is to take the labels off.
Yes.
Which he makes a big mess doing, but
yeah. But we're lucky in
the
that.
labels off, then he takes them to the rescue center, the dog and cat rescue center, because they're always looking for empty pill bottles to.
Yeah. Well, we're lucky because in LaPorte, the city of LaPorte Recycle Center takes just about everything. I mean, cooking oil, electronics, printer cartridges, tin, glass, plastic bags. I mean, cardboard. They take everything. So we recycle and have been, ever since we lived here. So it's just a matter of doing it, and because, but now I've got it down to an art. About every 2 weeks, I take it to the recycle center. They don't pick it up with the trash or anything, but they will take it. You just gotta, magazines, your junk mail, newspaper, everything. They take just about everything.
That's nice. A lot of that stuff that they won't recycle here, like shiny cardboard and plastics that that had food in it or whatever. I collect that and send it up with Marco up to Denver when he goes. So anyway, but man, it takes a lot of work. Leo or Jared?
Yes. And I think it's always important, during like Earth Day and everything, to we gotta, we always have to do our best, to do as little harm to our environment as possible. But sometimes we do this that we fall for, and this is a systemic point of view, we fall for like the psyop, the organizational psyop, what that is essentially like, why aren't you recycling? You're experiencing like a pseudo Catholic guilt, right? For a lack of holiness, a lack of divinity, a lack of whatever, while wherein you sort of take on the full weight of the environmental degradation that is going on as like, oh, it's because I used the water bottle one time, right? Or instead, or maybe, oh no, like I put in the trash can instead of the recycle. Oh no, right? And when in fact the full weight, right, of this is organizational, right? Because if every human, like every middle class person, right, we're talking about person, right, did full green, right, full green, we're biking to work, we're talking, like recycle everything, no like renewable stuff. Now we're still like climate change, we're still at that point in our environment where the the apocalyptic scenarios that are occurring are still going to occur, right? The lack of oxygen, being the cutoff of the CO2 levels within the ocean floor, leading to the death of the most oxygen producing algae and bacteria and stuff, right? All these things won't stop unless you organize around what your friend was doing, Carol, where they were organizationally getting big companies to quit harming the environment, right? So, that's really, that's the most important action to push towards when we're talking about things like Earth Day. It's always good to, be a friend to the environment and put out less harm into the universe, right? But the goal, if we talking about saving the human race and just the human race, because everybody else is gonna be fine. Then it's about organizing. It's about it's about oil companies. It's about those massive companies that do mass produce products and stuff, and we talking about some crimes like interrupting supply lines and stuff like that, right? And organizing around that.
But also, if you want to make little positive changes, would be buying up. And if you don't have a green thumb, it would be great if you could buy a lot of Texas native wildflowers.
Oh yeah.
And plant them around your garden, and you can literally just sprinkle the seeds everywhere, and they'll grow. You don't even have to water them. That's how tough they are.
Mm-hmm.
And those will help the monarch butterflies migrate and make it to wherever they have to make them. And also our honeybees. So
yeah, you help.
Yeah, the pollinators. I think those are real important. That's a great idea, and it doesn't. And wildflowers just feed your soul too.
Yeah,
they do.
Mm-hmm.
They're so powerful.
So, yeah. Who was it? Lyndon B. Johnson's wife that started some of the Texas. Yeah. I thought you were going to say also, if you don't have a green thumb, buying local makes such a difference.
At Kroger, at Kroger, they have these little pots. They're called seed pots, and they're like what, $1.99?
Yeah,
they're $1.99, and most of the Texas wildflowers are on there, and they're just little pots that you just chunk around your garden, and then you just watch them grow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I love that. That's wonderful. Yeah. Well, buying local, saves all the transportation fees and stuff, and eating less meat. Meat, it just takes 100 times the amount of environmental resources to get one serving of beef as it does to one serving of vegetarian protein. So I mean, there are a lot of different things we can do, and I like that you brought up some of the political things. I saw recently that there is a threat to a lot more of the Native American sacred sites. Chaco Canyon is one that was dear to my heart because I spent some time in Arizona, Chinle, and places like that near Canyon de Chelly, where they like in Canyon de Chelly, for example, they don't even have electricity down in the canyon, and or running water, and there are still people living down there and farming and irrigating and living their lives without any kind of technology like that, and it's so beautiful to see. But I mean, those kind of spaces do so much for our oxygenation, as someone brought up. So I think being politically active in how we in matters of climate change is important. So, but I mean, it's all blended together. I mean, some of the hospitals that I know about changed their policies just because of one person, speaking up. And I mean, there are challenges like in the OR. Oh my gosh, there's so much waste in the OR of things that get thrown away. And of course, you can't recycle things that have body fluids on them and things like that. But there are a lot of things that don't. Things come in all these boxes, and and there are ways to recycle and reuse things. One of the and I want to go back to just, I mean, our what is our value that makes us, I mean, besides just wanting to live and wanting the next generations to be able to live and have a reasonable life, is that we want to connect to each other, and we want to help protect each other and all of humanity. That's how I would say the value. Maybe you have another way of putting it, but community action means a lot, and that can often influence corporations. But sometimes just reaching out. One of the things my neighborhood did, I didn't want to. I couldn't think of how I could do a composting thing, so I used to throw out just vegetables and stuff like that because I've got so much land around me. And I thought, well, if the prairie dogs eat it, they'll just be composting it. But I think I was just encouraging them, and then they're taking it over and they're eating my porch furniture and digging around my foundation. Oh, but anyway, so then, but one of the neighbors just built, well, two of them got together and right between their property just built this kind of box thing right next to the road where it protects from the coyotes and everything and the prairie dogs. But you just go and throw all your composting stuff into the bin, and they turn it over as needed, and it just, it helps everybody. So little community actions like that not only mean start making a difference in the community, but it also connects you to your neighbors. I just thought that was a fun little example. Adrian, thanks for being patient.
Oh, no worries. Hello. So it was kind of interesting talking about Earth Day, especially, I do work in oil and gas. So therefore, I know, right? Oh, the bad guys here. That's right. And I'm not going to be defending oil and gas. I know it's a necessary evil. But I do want to touch some points that you guys already mentioned that it is very true about the materials in the world, because people think oil and gas and oil companies, and they always think the power and your cars and the electricity, but that's not it. The major industry where oil and gas goes is on the materials, the plastics, your glasses, your keyboards, your computers, your clothing. That's where oil and gas actually goes into. So I think we already mentioned that if you want to try to change something, it's actually try to change how people purchase things or the materials they do. And sadly, that's not how the world has been made. Because right now, I'm just gonna say that probably my parents' generation and before, they could actually buy something and fix it. Oh, if something it's broken, well, let's buy that spare part and fix it. And nowadays, to be able to do that, it's cheaper to buy a brand new one. Most recent example I can think of, printers, home printers. My ink ran out. Let's buy a new cartridge. Well, it is cheaper to just buy a whole brand new printer, because that cartridge is expensive. I guess you're right. Trash, brand new printer out there. So it's kind of crazy how
companies have made it where even if you do try to go fix something, that spare part is now way more expensive. There's no way to do things. And even like now with brand new cars, electrical cars are smart and things like that, where they actually lock out the mechanism. So that way, actual mechanics, your mom and pop mechanic, cannot really figure out what's going on with your car because the system has locked them out. Now you have to take them to to the dealership that has been authorized, that's paying into the program, your probably a monthly subscription based program, to be able to service those types of cars to figure out what's going on. So a lot of that is, how can we change people's perspective? And yet it reminds me of how other cities have done it. I remember when I moved to Austin, then this was back in 2016 through 2017, the plastic bag ban was going on. And I got used to it. Yeah, after at the beginning, I'm like, oh, I don't have a bag, and then I'm carrying like 12 things with me to the, from the store to the car. But then I started having a couple bags in my car, and I just got used to it. And guess what? Most of the city got used to it too. And then they're like, nah, some people are complaining about it. It's too much of an inconvenience to carry a bag. So let's stop that, and let's just continue selling reusable bags so people can collect them. And basically now they have 50 bags because they're pretty and they will never use them. So there you go. It just adds to the waste pile. So that's my main take about the material items. But it also, another thing that kind of makes me think is also how the system, because of how people have just become too convenient to do things. But this reminds me of my childhood when I was growing up in Mexico. So once a week, just like the trash truck would come around the neighborhoods to pick up trash, the Coca-Cola truck would come around once a week to the neighborhoods. And you would go and put out your empties to the front and tell the people, I want this many Cokes, this many flavor sodas, because it's all the glass bottles. And you would just buy your soda like that. And yeah, it was like a garbage truck system. You had to be there present, of course, when they came out, usually on the weekends. So that way you can empty out your empties and just buy them. But that's how the recycling worked over in Mexico. At least I don't know if they still doing that right now, but that's how it is. Also, because there were so many like corner stores, like in the neighborhood, pretty much just like, oh, just go to Mr. He's around the corner from this house and he has a little store in his house with basic groceries. And you would just take up your empties, go in and pick up brand new ones. You'll get a discount if you're able to do that. And if you don't have the empties, then you would have to pay like a more premium charge for that as well, unless you drank it right at the store and just left the empty, because sometimes you would do that too, because you wanted to save some money. So there are ways, but I just feel like the convenience of how people have grown used to it are just, that's the hard part, to be able to, how can we change everybody? And if we all can start doing a little bit, that will basically grow into the major change as to like, how can we do all of that? Because right now it's just the materials and the convenience of, and people just don't think about it. So that's all what I had to say.
That was very interesting. Thank you. Yeah, and I don't know how to change things like, printers and glasses and things like that. But yeah, but convenience is a big thing. Santa Fe still has a plastic bag ban, but they will give you paper sacks if you don't bring in your bags, and I find those pretty convenient for holding all my recycling that I have to separate, throwing my cans in and until I can get to the recycling center. Okay, Lynn.
Yeah, I think it's us though. It's not us. It's the companies. They've changed the way they manufacture. Because I remember as a kid on the streets of Chicago, we used to collect um, bottles and turn them into the grocery store, and because you could get 2 cents or 3 cents per bottle, and in some states I think they still do that, but that's never been true here in Texas. So it's the company that has changed the way they do business because when they outsourced a lot of the manufacturing, it is so cheap, overseas for them to make things until they said, well, we'll just make it a disposable society. Well, you're absolutely right. Nobody's changing their carburetors or their starters or their ignition, in their cars anymore. And when I was a teenager growing up, I remember, when people did that and parts. And, my dad was a fixed televisions, and the big televisions that sat on the floor, they had tubes in them, and so when a tube would blow out, he had his Radio Shack, tubes, and he'd go and he'd fix television. So yeah, but it wasn't him that stopped that. It was the company making the television. So now we live in a throwing away society, and it's not us. I think people would if they could, but we just don't anymore.
I think you're right. And also, I think that our voices used collectively can make a difference for the corporations that are doing that. Krager?
So, hold on, let me get off mute.
You're off mute.
Oh, okay. Well, let me put my hand down then. I'm like, what am I doing? Okay, so I would just, this is always a hard topic for me because I don't have a child, but I do have a niece, and she's only 33. But let's say that there's no significant, or sustainable change that goes on here very soon. I mean, how long, what's people's in this room best guess? How long is Mother Earth going to last before she blows? Like how many more years is it 50 years? Is it 100? I mean, how long can this planet keep going? I mean, I walk on a Saturday, if Paul and I go shopping, I walk into a Home Depot store and I am just blown away by the square footage in that one store with all that stuff in that one store. And I'm like, how is this sustainable with 3,500 Home Depot stores across the country and how many in the world? I'm like, Paul's like, well, people need their things. So we go to Home Depot and get our things, but I don't know. I think what we tend to notice, or what I tend to notice most of the, because I'm outside all the time walking or riding the bike, is the heat. And if we get a strong El Nino coming in this fall, the heavens will open up and then it will rain, and then we're going to have the opposite problem. I think we probably have noticed the actual change in the climate. Those of us, I don't even know how old you have to be, but it was much cooler when I was a little kid than it is now. Even when I was living in San Antonio in 1973, it was cooler. So I don't know.
Okay, we gotta start wrapping it up. So maybe Jared has an answer to your question.
Yes. So the doomsday clock is often like there's like a calculation that's constantly occurring with like anthropogenic climate change, where so current, like in 2050, like around that time, we're going to get there's going to be massive heat, right, warming deaths, right. 2070, we're going to have there are going to be spaces where literal spaces in locations in geography where you cannot inhabit it because it's too, like, the temperatures are just impossible for the human body to survive there regularly, right, in these areas, right? And then past that point, we're talking about like fighting for oxygen, right? We're literally talking about fighting for oxygen, like not enough oxygen in the atmosphere. So probably 2080 by the end of this next generation's life. Well, everyone's life. It will be a huge. So not too long from now, actually, right? Just about 25 years, right? And then, so you might, like with the way modern medicine's going, you might see a little bit of that.
And I'm just trying to make it through another day with the orange one.
And it's probably going to get worse every single.
What made Lynn get going?
But what may happen is that things, let's say, self-correct, in that there will be enough sustained die-off or lack of population growth because of that, that things reach I don't want to say a point of good equilibrium, but a point of like unsustainability to where you can't continue to teeter-totter things over to the other side. So it's not a good correction. It's a forced correction mechanism, but it's a correction mechanism. Let me put my Jeff Goldblum Jurassic Park hat on and be like, nature finds a way.
Oh, dear. Wow. Well, I think when we look at like the creation stories, etc., that's I think I would hope that people of faith could lead the fight, and it may be too much for us to make a difference in really pushing back the doomsday clock, but I think we're still obligated to do what we can, even for as many generations as possible. So thank you all for all the things that you've mentioned that you do and all the ideas that we come up with, and let's bring it to church as well. Let's in whatever spaces we're in for that. Let's make sure that our communities of faith are fighting the good fight as well. Kreger wrote, "Do the right thing because it's the right thing to do."
Mm-hmm. It's the only reason. It's not necessarily because I believe in Jesus. I mean, maybe, but you do the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
Because it's the right thing to do. The time is always right to do what is right.
Is that an MLK quote?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I knew I didn't make that up myself.
Awesome. And we talked about some Bible things, but Lynn didn't bring us a verse today. But that's we've still got it all.
But she got Craig's sewing lessons in Houston.
Sewing classes and beginners sewing classes in Houston. Yeah. Well, I was late. I didn't get a chance to see what the topic would be. I was logging in, at 6:32, so I didn't have a verse.
Nice.
Except to remind us that we should really be vegetarians. If we read Genesis, we should not be eating meat. We should be vegetarians, and that's. Go back to Genesis. When Adam named all of the animals. So if you read Genesis closely, we shouldn't be eating meat at all. So,
and God said it is good, and we need to keep it good. All right, Kreger, if you could pray us out.
Sure. Holy Spirit, we are grateful for this episode of God Talk this evening. We're also thankful for each of our panelists who are here this evening. Everyone had very intelligent and informed things to say. And it's always a great conversation here. And it was a little bit fun too along the way. So we're grateful for that as well. You know, obviously the people in this room, we love the planet, we love nature. We are trying to do the things that we know how to do and that we know better to do. And so our small spaces in the world, we're trying to have an impact. And so we just pray that that continues to move outwardly in the community, and that some people will wake up and actually smell the coffee, and that this, you know, if we don't make significant changes soon, times are going to get really, really tough in a lot of different ways that we probably can't even think of right now. So help us to do better tomorrow. That's what we ask every week here, and give us the love and the strength to do so. In Jesus' name, we ask tonight. Amen.
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 Have a great week, everyone. Rest of the weekend.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
And this
Mhm.